Hello friends, let's start the next module called as Meet Hadoop. So what we are going to study exactly in this particular module is how Hadoop is advantageous in dealing with the big data and how it overcomes the problems which are present in the big data level. So first let us go through topic by topic. So the first is data, and we already know about data, what exactly is the data. So according to the International Data Center, the size of the data in 2013 it was about 4.4 zettabytes, and in 2020 it is about 44 zettabytes. So each zettabytes is 10 raised to 21 bytes, which is equivalent to 1 million petabytes, or I can say 1 billion terabytes. So nowadays we are getting 1 TB hard disk, and we can say how many hard disk it is making use of. So 1 billion hard disks of 1 TB is being streamed into the network of data in the 2020. So that's more than one disk drive for every person inside the world. Now what are these data sources? So whenever we are talking about the data sources, then there are many data sources. Like, first of all, we already are aware of photos, and every one of us, we take the pictures and make use of those pictures and put them inside the social networking sites, and try to store them in the form of a cloud or whatever it is. And whenever we are making use of those pictures, the pictures are having a lot of clarity in the form of resolution. The greater the resolution, the more space is required. Like, whenever we want a picture which is taken by let us say 5 megapixel camera, it is not so good when we are taking the picture by making use of the 50 GP or 50 megapixel camera. So whenever we are using 50 megapixel camera, then automatically the data size also increases. So previously, when we were making use of the magnetic tapes for working with the photos, then there was no digitization as such. So it was useful for making use of only one magnetic tape, which can be processed for any big photograph. But when we are talking with respect to data in terms of digitization of that particular photo, then we are making use of the sampling. And when we are using the sampling is nothing but picture per or pixel per picture element per inch, per square inch. So how many picture elements are there per the square inch is more important whenever we are talking about the photos. Then when we are making use of the sampling, then how many pixel elements are needed for that particular square inch are done by using resolution. So the more the resolution, the more space. So next we have our own personal data in the form of phone calls, then we have the emails, then we have the documents. So this already we know about these things. Next is machine data. And the machine data, now let us consider one LAN software or LAN connectivity using one server. So whenever a node or a client inside that LAN network is making use of the system, then automatically the log present inside the server automatically makes use of the data, this one client login and so on, inside the machine in the form of machine logs. So similarly we have radio frequency ID networks which work for the radio frequency. Then next we have the sensor networks where we are using IoT type of devices, where we are using sensors like humidity sensor and so on, temperature sensor, then moisture sensor. So these things are the machinery which directly come to our data in the form of uh, digitized data, which has to be stored by multiple resources. So even when we are making use of the internet also, our data will be stored inside our system. So that is nothing but making use of the sensor networks. Then we have vehicle GPS traces. Whenever a vehicle is being passed, then that is we need to make use of the vehicle tracking, then we make use of the GPS data. Then we have the transaction data. So no doubt we are making use of this transaction data now and then, and whenever we are making use of the request to any of the server, then we will be having even the transactions also, so that Let us say when I'm trying to make use of a purchase, then we make use of the transaction data, and the transaction is data is not only the user data but also the data which is going from a PC to that PC in the form of HTTP request, HTTP response, and so on. Then next we have the public data in the form of social networking. So the data is completely available in the form of social networking sites where we post the data in the form of public. Then we have the data sets which are provided by the Amazon Web Services, infogems.org, and so on. Then we have even the public data in the form of news articles and so on. So this is nothing but public data. Then the research data which is used for the research purposes. So for that we have the astronomic data. Then we have essence3.com, which are nothing but the examples. So internet archives, even this is also one example for working with the research data. So whatever data we need, all this data is present in the form of the research data in the servers which are making use of this research. Then next, how this data is being stored and how we are trying to analyze. So the data storage is very simple when we are trying to work with the data of limited capacity. Now let us assume that when we were in 1990, 1370 MB of data was being used for one data drive, or let us say 1370 MB is nothing but somewhere equivalent to around 1 GB. So 1 GB has to be transferred to the hard disk, and we see that 4.4 MB transfer speed was there, and we could transfer that 1 GB file at the rate of 4.4 MB per second. And let us imagine how much time it will take for TBs of data. So we need to read all this data, and this would take around 5 minutes for 1370 MB of data to be read by using 4.4 MB of a data transfer speed. Now in 2020 or 2000, after 20 years later, we can see that 100 MB per second is being used, and 1 TB hard disk is also being used, and making use of this 100 MBs data speed also, we see that we need 2.5 hours for reading the data from the complete disk. So let us imagine how much data speed we need. So what are the problems associated with that? So we always see the data in the form of 1 TB, let us say, and when we are making use of 100 disks, and when we are talking about the big data, then it is petabytes or zettabytes, and when we are talking about the zettabytes, let us consider only 100 hard disks, and such hard disk 100 hard disk will require 250 hours of reading things. And when we are trying to have the access to that data, then it is very difficult to have the access to that data. And if we imagine when there is a failure in one of that disk, then it is completely waste. And when we are making use of the 100 disk, the data is present only in 1 TB, and we have to search for all the 100 disk, which is completely a waste thing. So for that we require a proper accessibility to the data through which we can have the access very fast. So for this problems, we can make use of this something like as Hadoop system, where we have the mixing of HDFS, which is nothing but Hadoop distributed file system, and MapReduce. Hadoop distributed file system, what it does is it is capable of storing the data. It works for the storage. It forms some clusters and put your data in the form of copies in the form of clusters, and MapReduce is the functionality which is used for working with the accessibility of our data. So this is having the algorithm how to have the access to the data, and which cluster, and in that cluster which system or which node is having the data is done by using our MapReduce. So in a nutshell, or the conclusion is, the Hadoop provides a reliable, scalable platform for storage and analysis. So it runs on commodity hardware, and it is open source, so Hadoop is also affordable. So querying all our data needs something called as query processor. So MapReduce is a batch query processor previously, but it has been changed to even beyond batch also. So batch query processor, and it is having the ability to run an ad hoc query against our whole data set, because it is the functionality functions, and it is directly goes to the data where the data is exactly present, and we can get the results in the reasonable time. And it gives the opportunity to innovate the data as well, and even the questions which were taking a lot of time to be answered can be answered within no time when we are using our MapReduce and Hadoop. So MapReduce is fundamentally a batch processing system, and it is not suitable for interactive analysis. So for this, another stack of Hadoop, something like as Yarn, then other Pig, Hive, and all these things. All these things, what they did is they made the Hadoop as interactive system. So Hadoop has evolved from the batch processing, and we are just talking about the HDFS and the MapReduce right now, and these fall under the infrastructure of the distributed computing, where the job is being distributed among the 100 processors to work with the 100 clients, so that our data will be done very fast. Data accessing is done by very fast. So many of these are hosted by the Apache Software Foundation, which is completely open source. So the enabler for the processing modules in Hadoop was the introduction of Yarn, which is nothing but yet another resource negotiator. So it is a cluster resource management system which allows any distributed program to run on data in a Hadoop cluster. So it is a management system where it has the functionalities to get into the clusters. It manages the cluster, and it provides the clusters for the data accessibility. Okay, so there are different processing patterns as well that work with the Hadoop. So first is interactive SQL. As we have seen, MapReduce is not like interactive SQL. It takes a lot of time, but there is something called as interactive SQL, which makes Hadoop to be interactive, something like always on state, which makes the system to keep the data always on for the interaction, something like daemons like Impala, and the container use like here Hive on these. So these will provide us the interactive SQL. Then iterative processing is nothing but we make use of many algorithms which are used for iteration in our Hadoop processing system or Hadoop big data. So they work in the form of many algorithms which are efficient, less time consuming, and the architecture of MapReduce allows the straightforward exploration style of working with the data sets. Then next we have the stream processing, which will help us for streaming, and for that we have the examples like Storm, Spark Streaming, or Samza, which are there in Hadoop. The next is searching, and for the searching we make use of SOLR search platform, which can run on Hadoop cluster, which uses for indexing the documents and so on. So indexing the documents and so on, which is used for better accessibility. We know that whenever we have the indexing, proper indexing of our data, then automatically there is a speed in working with the data. So this is the introductory part of our Meet Hadoop. So next things we'll see in the next lecture.